Welcome to the Edpuzzle for Unit 1, Lesson 2, where we're going to be constructing triangles with specific side lengths. So, in yesterday's lesson, we worked on constructing different size segments, and we're going to kind of build on that to help us construct different types of triangles. But before we get into that, it's important to know what kind of triangles we have. So, the first triangle that we have here is an equilateral triangle. Now, an equilateral triangle has all three sides that are equal, so you should go ahead and get in the habit of labeling this. And something else that it has that's not in your notes that we want you to add is that there are three congruent angles as well. And then even more strongly, so we want to make sure that we're labeling those as well. But even more strongly, we know that all of the angles are equal to 60 degrees. So I would go ahead and put that in your diagram as well. Now, these are important things to know because you have to know how to differentiate between your different shapes. Now, you also have an isosceles triangle, which has two equal or two congruent sides, which we can label. And then something that you need to add is that there are two congruent angles. Now, again, those angles are usually right here, and we want to get in the habit of labeling those. Now, scalene's a bit easier because you don't have to label anything because there are no congruent sides and no congruent angles. But for this one, we also have to know, in general, for triangles, how to identify the base and your legs. So the base is typically like on the bottom. In this case, that is how we will identify the base. And then the legs are just the other two sides. So you might see a question saying, hey, construct a triangle with a base equal to this and the legs equal to this. So you have to know how to differentiate between those three sides. So referring to this sentence here, we're going to have a construction bank, and this construction bank is going to basically be your support for the unit. So it is on Google Classroom, but just to show you guys what it is, it's a huge document. However, it pretty much goes in order, and whatever you're trying to find, you can just do Control F or Command F, and it basically has a video, a shorter video of going over the construction, and it also has a list of steps with all images there for you. But getting back into today's specific constructions, first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be constructing a triangle with the base congruent to EF and with the legs also congruent to EF. So first things first, I always like to copy the base first. Now what I'll do is I will take our straight edge and just make a reference line. After you make your reference line, you will mark your starting point. I'm just going to call this E prime for now. And the first thing we need to do is copy this segment for our base. We have to copy EF. So if you remember from yesterday's lesson, our needle goes on E, our pencil tip goes on F, and then we will lock that compass. We're not opening it anymore, we're not closing it anymore, and I am going to take this length to our new house, and I'm just going to show my arc mark. Now remember, you have to make a point where your arc and your reference line intersect, and I'm gonna label that F prime. So now I just copied segment EF, and that is our base. Now in this example, our legs are also congruent to segment EF. So to copy our legs, what you're going to do is put your needle on one of the endpoints of the segment you just copied, and then you're going to copy your leg segment from this point. So I don't have to change the compass width anymore because we're keeping segment EF as our leg as well. However, if this segment was a different length, you would just have to match your compass to that length, and then you would place your needle on one of the endpoints and copy one of your legs by showing that arc. Now, from the other endpoint, I'm going to copy the length of my other leg. Now, again, our leg length isn't changing, so I'm keeping my compass the same width, and I am making that arc mark again. Now, what you should notice is that you're going to have your arcs intersecting. Now, that's where you're going to draw your point. Now you can see we have a point here, and this third point is created by these two intersection points. Now we don't have a letter, so for right now I'll just call it like G. Typically the question will tell you what to label your points. Now what you'll do is you'll just take your straight edge and connect all three of the points that you just marked. And that's it. Now you just copied or you just constructed a triangle where all three sides, your base and your legs, are congruent to segment EF. Now, for this example where you guys are going to be trying it on your own, you're constructing it with the base congruent to EF, but then your legs are going to be congruent to AB. So again, what you want to do is copy your base segment first. Then from each of your endpoints, you're going to make arcs that represent the length of your legs, and you are marking that point where your arcs intersect, just like we did over here, and then you're using your straight edge to connect all three of those points. Don't worry too much about labeling your points for this try it on your own question. We'll talk more about that in class tomorrow.